Hello everyone and welcome back to some Warhammer Warcry, our second attempt at the game, this time going into the depths of the catacombs using the other side of the map from last time. So this is inside the fiery volcano / forge where there is the very real danger of walking across collapsed bridges or weakened bridges and just instantly falling to your death. That's really the only special rule we're going to be incorporating for the catacomb specific rules. None of the special scenery is going to have a special rules, just to keep things simple. We're also going to avoid having a twist again while we learn the game. But there's reinforced bridges, of which there's two that look like this, the other one's over there. If a model ends its turn on top of those, you roll a die. If it rolls a 1, the bridge becomes weakened. These little flimsy wooden bridges, of which there's another one down there, they start weakened. If a model ends their turn with their base on the bridge, and you roll a 1 on a weakened bridge, it goes away. They fall into the lava and they die. There is a universal, I think it's a double, it might be a triple, that everybody gets access to if you're playing on this particular map, which is if you're within 1 inch of a model and they're within half an inch of the pits of lava, you can attempt to shove them in. There is walls though on this map, so for instance you couldn't do it here because there's a wall, but this bit here is open. This is all open, this is sealed. It might be a bit hard to see again. The Warcry boards, as it turns out, are very reflective, unfortunately. But either way, we're going to be seeing the full vampire list from last time, and this time they're going up against, the Storm Coven, I think they're called. Yeah, a Stormcast Eternal wizard-focused subset. But I guess we should look at them first, because they're the new ones on the table. So the first thing to note about Thunderstrike, Stormcast Eternals, we'll just call them Stormcast for brevity's sake, is that this is actually an illegal list. It's using Domitan Storm Coven, which is these 3 miniatures from Warhammer Underworlds. The rules for using them in Warcry was in White Dwarf issue 492. And they're all counting as heroes, and you're only supposed to have 1 to 3 heroes in a Warcry list. So because the Lord Imperatant here is also a hero, that means there's 4, which means that this is an illegal list. But in order to just get another video out, we're going to keep playing it with the Gryph-hound there as well. I think it's 950 points, which means they're still actually behind the vampires because the vampires are 990. So they do still have a disadvantage. They certainly have a numbers disadvantage. So although there is 4 of them as heroes, we're still going to play it, and I don't think it's going to give them that particular edge. They're all very tough. They've all got a lot of wounds, but obviously there's only so much you can do with only 5 bodies, and the Gryph-hound is just like a weak little pet to have at the side. So we'll see what they can do shooting lightning out of every orifice. It'll very much depend on what mission we randomise, and we will be, for the record, because we've got to say this before, randomising the mission from the Catacombs booklet. So as mentioned, this is the same vampire list, the Soulblight Gravelords from last time, just the full list that was supposed to be there. The 2 Gravewalker zombies were dropped to bring it more on par with equal points last time with Nurgle's team. So we have a Vampire Lord leading, we have 2 Kursakian Night Guard, we have 3 Veracruz Bloodborne, and then the 2 zombies as mentioned for 990 points. So we'll see how they do with a full roster, or as full as they can get. Obviously there's more efficient ways to probably get to 1,000 points on the dot, but it's pretty close. And I guess now we'll randomise the mission and then break people into hammer, shield, etc. So let's randomise ourselves a dungeon battle plan and then also a victory condition. One more special rule to note if you are using the Catacombs side of this map and the Catacomb rules is that any part of your warband that doesn't start on the table, so if someone comes in later in the game, they have to come in at round 3 and it has to use a doorway on the map. So that's the only other stipulation. So 1 to 3 we'll use table A, 4 to 6 we'll use table B. Oh, I can't really roll where you'll see it, unfortunately. I'm running out of room on the table for this one. There we go. So it's table A, and that's a 6. So it's actually headlong charge up here. So the hammers start facing each other, the daggers are up there, and that means the shields will be coming on round 3. And then how do we actually win? Let's go to victory card, card tables. A, B, 1 to 3, 4 to 6. So we're on this side, and that's a 2. For critical point, the players roll off and the winner chooses who is the attacker and who is the defender. The defender places 3 objectives anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from other objectives and 3 from battlefield edges. At the start of each combat phase, the defender picks 1 objective to be the critical point until the end of the battle round. At the end of each battle round, each player scores 1 victory point for each objective they control. If the attacker controls the critical point, they gain an additional 3. The battle ends after 5 battle rounds, When the battle ends, each player with the most victory points wins the battle. Okay, so it's a more of a standard go after victory points, and we'll split the teams now. So here's how the Stormcast have elected to separate themselves. The hammer shall be the Lord Imperator and Domatan himself. The little Griffhound by himself is going to be the shield, so he's coming on at battle round 3. And then Sarpon and Leona are the dagger. And over here, the Vampire Lord and the 2 Kursagi Knight Guard are going to be the hammer. The dagger is the 3 Veracruz Bloodborne, and again, coming in late at round 3, will be the shield, which for them is the 2 zombies. So here's how the initiative roll bared out, and you're not going to believe it, but the Stormcast actually did roll a straight flush. They rolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on their normal dice, meaning they're basically guaranteed to get priority. They used their wild dice though to make a double 6, just to have it. The Soulblight Gravelords had 2 doubles, a double 2 and a double 4. They're banking their wild dice and just taking those 2 singles, so the Stormcast will be going first. The last thing to do though is to just quickly show you where those objectives have ended up. I forgot to mention, but our journey to try and see a single quad get rolled at any time continues. So the 3 objectives with a slightly askew camera that'll be fixed between takes. 1 objective here, and then 9 inches away, more than 3 inches in from the exits, or entrances, as you might prefer to call them. 1 there, and 1 up there. So to control an objective point, you just have to have the most models around it, or within 1, I think. So it's super simple, and the critical point is obviously going to be the objective furthest from the Stormcast, because they will not reach it this turn, so they're definitely not, as the attacker, getting any bonus points, but they might still be able to make it to one of the other ones. We'll see. With that, let's jump into the first round of 5, Stormcast going first. So it was the Lord Imperator who got the game started using both actions to move. However, these are spellcasting Stormcasts, so they move slow. They move as slow as the Nurgle units from last time, actually. 4 inches, I think, across the board except the Griffhound. So his first 4-inch move made him stop smack dab in the middle of the reinforced bridge there. It did not become weakened, that's the roll there. Then he just moved 4 more and popped himself right there, so he could go for either of the closer objectives, but not this turn. First up for the Soulblight Gravelords was one of the Kursagi Knight Guard, because they also don't do any cardio and only move 4 inches. He moved onto the bridge, rolled a 4 as well. I think that's the same roll. That's spooky. So the bridge stayed enforced, and then he moved over here. Now you can't just cut the corner here again, just to be clear. These very thick red outline bits are walls, so he would have to go around. So would the Lord Imperator. So it's not just a straight run to that objective over there. Now, although it is risky, Domatan activated next for the Thunderstrike Stormcast, moving twice for his 2 actions for a total of 8 inches, which isn't very much. Got him right down here in front of the flimsy bridge. Now, I don't know if I made it clear before, but if you have a move stat that takes you clean over a bridge, you don't need to roll to see if it collapses. It's only if you stop with your base on the bridge. So, from where he is, 4 inches might be enough to just get him across next turn. Yeah, he wouldn't be touching it. So he's actually safe to cross that. Thanks to his large base. One of the Vicos Bloodborne activated and made use of the fact that they can move a massive 8 inches per action to actually just do a jump. He jumped across the lava here. Now, the core rulebook rules for jumping, because he's not moving any vertical distance at all, there's no impact damage or anything, but I feel like the Catacomb rules specifically had you taking damage if you jump across the lava. I'm going to go look in the Catacombs book in a second. The core rulebook, it was done correctly, because it only takes about 6 inches to get to here, and then they just climbed up over this and ended up just about, there we go, ended up right here for their second action, controlling one of the 3 objectives. I knew I read it somewhere in the Catacombs rulebook, even though there's no vertical distance, to represent the lava kind of burning a fighter as they do the leap. They suffer impact damage as if they had fallen, so for impact damage you just roll a d6, and if it's a 4+, which that one just fell out of view, sorry, it was indeed a 4+, nothing happens. On a 1 they take 3 damage, on a 2 or a 3 they take 1 damage. Well, not having the extreme agility of a Bloodborne, Sarpon activated and just moved twice, getting him through these doors. There is about, I think there's 10 or 12 doors that come in the Catacomb set. There's supposed to be a mixture of closed doors, open doors, and that's why there's also these switches, and you can do a universal reaction or a double or something to try and break down a door. They're not painted yet, hence why there's only 4 open doors. Again, just kind of working with stuff as we build it up, just trying to get in some practice to learn the game. The Vampire Lord activated next, 5 inches per move for him. He did 2 of them. His first ended there. He passed the bridge successfully. That's the 6. There's the one there. So he's right next to the Kursagi Night Guard over there. And last activation for the Stormcast in round 1 was Leona, and she just followed behind Sarpon there. If they had a triple, she could have done an ability that gives her fly for the turn, which might have given her enough. I think you're allowed to stop mid, over a pit if you have flying. But unfortunately they only had that double, which is now being wasted because that's them done for the round. Got 1 Kursagi Night Guard left and 2 Varicose Bloodborne. They'll most likely be just doing moves, so we'll handle them all at once and be back in a second. And so the other Kursagi Night Guard moved up, just kind of guarding the bridge there and holding the critical objective for the turn. The 2 other Varicose Bloodborne copied their brethren by leaping across the lava and just taking up positions, one of them helping to control the objective up here, the other one moving down here. They both had to do their impact damage rolls. Unfortunately, this one managed to roll a 1, so he has taken 3 damage, and the other rolled a 3, so they've just taken a single wound. And that takes us to the end of the round. At the end of the first round, the score is 2-0 in favour of the Soulblight Gravelords. They hold 2 out of the 3 objectives. The Stormcast very slow. They're going to have to make it up as they start from behind as we go into the second round. No reinforcements coming on yet. It only happens in round 3 of 5. And at the start of round 2, here's how the dice are shaping up for initiative. The Stormcast rolled a triple 3 and a double 2, so they used their wild dice just to make another double with their 1 single because they knew they were not getting priority. So they've got 2 doubles and a triple to play with. The Soulblight Gravelords started with just a double 5. They have used 1 of their wild dice to make a triple, and they used another wild dice to make a double 6, still giving them the 3 singles, so they'll be getting first activation in round 2, which does not bode well for the Lord Imperatant. So to get the round started, or round 2 started rather, the triple for the Soulblight Gravelords was spent on Call the Crimson Feast as the Vampire Lord activated. Until the end of the battle round, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee attacks made by visible friendly fires while they're within 6 inches of him, because they really want to murder the Lord Imperatant this turn. So that's their triple gone on that. And for his other action, he did 4 strength 4 attacks into the Lord Imperatant, who is toughness 5, but he still managed to get 1 hit and 1 crit through for 2 and 5 damage respectively. 2 and 6 damage respectively. His crits are really powerful, for a total of 8 wounds to the Lord Imperatant, who I think has 30 wounds in total. Not exactly a bombastic reprisal from the Stormcast for their first action. Sarpon activated and did 2 moves, also having to cross the bridge, but it did not become weakened on the way, and he's ended up right next to the Lord Imperatant here. They are actually trying to set something up, but we'll see if it comes to fruition. The Kursagi Night Guard, who was back here, moved twice to kind of semi-block the door here, but still stay close to the objective down here. So if Domitan heads through there, he's going to have a little bit of trouble. He won't be able to just turn the corner real tightly. He's going to have to contend with him blocking the way. Following on behind Sarpon, Leona activated and also double moved. She had to end her second action right smack dab in the middle of the reinforced bridge. It has yet to become weakened, which makes sense because she's basically hovering across the ground. The Bloodborne with a single wound on it moved for its first action 8 inches in order to come after Sarpon, because he only has 28 wounds, the rest of them have 30. So wanted to pick on him a little bit, rolling against him with 4 dice, strength 4 versus toughness 5. Got 1 hit through, but it was a crit for 5 damage to Sarpon right there. Didn't do anything else. Oh, and that was with the extra die from the Crimson Feast triple spent earlier. The Lord Imperatant activated, and what he originally was going to do was spend his triple on an ability that would have given Sarpon and Leona a bonus move or attack, and they've all got range because they're spellcasters. But an opportunity presented itself, so he actually moved for his first action behind and within an inch of this Bloodborne here, and spent the triple 3 that they had on Push into Pit, which is a catacomb specific for this map ability. You roll a die, you add your strength, and if you get higher than the person who's within half an inch of the edge, they are taken down because you push them into the lava. He only rolled a 2, the Bloodborne only rolled a 1, and is already 1 less strength than him. So into the lava he tumbled and has been eviscerated and burned to death. For the Lord Imperatant's other action, he did his ranged attack, which on his profile is a bow, but I choose to believe he's shooting lightning just because that's the theme of this. He shot lightning into the Vampire Lord, getting a single crit past that toughness 5 for 4 wounds. Furious at the loss of one of their brethren, one of the other Varicose Bloodborne activated, shot round the scenery. I guess he could have went over it, doesn't really matter, to get within 1 inch of the Lord Imperatant, took some swings at him with that blade and got 1 crit through for 5 damage. So that is the Lord Imperator up to, if we just flip one of these over to 10 instead, he is up to 13 wounds in total of his 30. There may not be many bodies, but they are certainly sturdy, although that isn't going to matter because getting kills isn't going to win them the match. They have to actually score the objectives. Well, staring down a Kursagi Night Guard is probably pretty scary, but that's what Domatan is doing as the last activation for the Thunderstrike Stormcast in Battle Round 2. His first move action took him across the flimsy bridge fully, so he didn't need to roll for staying on it, and then his second put him in the doorway there, ready to have at them. They both got the same number of wounds, so it's going to come down to who has the most crits if they start duking it out. The Soulblight Gravelords have 2 activations left. They have this Kursagi Night Guard and this Bloodborne. However, they are not moving because they want to hold the objectives, because the objectives are what matter. So they're going to stay right where they are to score points. Neither of them have range on any targets, so they're just burning their activations in order to score. So though they are 1 Bloodborne down at the end of the second battle round, the Soulblight Gravelords are still the only ones to have scored victory points. They scored 2 more there, taking them to 4. So it's 4 playing 0 as we go into third battle round. However, at that point, reinforcements will come on. They can come in from any area that is an entryway into this tile. So this end of the board, that end of the board, left and right, and then also bottom left corner, bottom right, and the same for the top. So there's quite a few different places where the Gryph-hound and the 2 Gravewalker zombies can choose to come in, but the Stormcast have got to start scoring, and they've got to start putting pressure on whatever the critical objective is for round 3, but we'll cover that once all the deployments are in and the dice have been rolled. And here is how the dice panned out for round 3. 2 doubles for the Stormcast. They've used their wild die to make a triple 6 with 2 singles. The Soulblight Gravelords had a triple 1 and then 3 singles, and they're opting just to keep that, so they retain priority. So they'll be going first. We'll just very quickly show you where the reinforcements have come on from their shields. Annoyingly, it is at opposite end of the tables, because of course it is. The Gryph-hound has come in down here to put a little bit of pressure on this objective here. The 2 zombies have appeared right at the top of the map, and on that note, the critical objective for Battle Round 3 is this objective right here, because of course it is. It was an absolute disastrous start for the Stormcast with the first activation of the Soulblight Gravelords, thanks to a staggeringly good roll. This Bloodborne activated and just did 2 strikes into the Lord Imperator. The first roll, 4 dice at strength 4, was a 5 and 3 6s, which was 16 wounds right there from just 1 attack, leaving him on 1 wound, so he did another attack, just needing to get 1, 5 or 6. He got 1 of each, as it turns out, for another 6 wounds, taking the Lord Imperator out, although he then triggered the default Stormcast reaction ability, because he hadn't activated, so he had 2 actions, called Thunderous Departure, I believe it is. If you know you're going to be taken out by wounds, you roll d6 and assign that many wounds to the person dishing the damage out. So it was a 3, so this Bloodborne is now going to be at 6 wounds, but that does come at the cost of the Lord Imperator getting vaporized off the table. Very cool looking miniature, but no need to talk about him now, he's dead. Sarpon activated, and instead of doing 2 ranged attacks that are only 2 dice strength 4, he opted to move into close combat with the Bloodborne here and took 4 attacks at strength 4 and spent the double on scouring blows, which means that he crits on 5s and 6s rather than just 6s. Didn't do anything, as it turns out. He whiffed except on 1 die, which was a 6, for 4 wounds to the Bloodborne, taking him up to 10 in total of his, I think they have 15, so not exactly ideal, but chipping away at him. The Vampire Lord activated for the Soulblight Gravelords and tried to get a little bit of vengeance. Moved up to within 1 of Leonora. He should technically be a little bit further back than that, because that's within 1. His base isn't fully on the bridge, but we rolled to see if it would become busted anyway, and it actually did. So it's a weakened bridge now, so the next time someone stops on it and rolls a 1, it will collapse and kill them. And then he thought, turnabout is fair play, spent the triple on push into pit to try and shoulder barge Leona there into the pit. They're both toughness 5 though, so it was just basically a straight dice roll, which she won. So no pushing into the insta-death lava pit below. Then he took a swing at her with his spirit-possessed blade, 4 attack strength 4, so he needed 5s and 6s, and didn't actually do anything to her. So the first roll that went in the Stormcast's favour there. Domatan activated next for the Stormcast. During his turn, a triple was spent on the Stormcast specific ability. Forgotten what it's called offhand. Hang on, real quick. It is called Rushing Gales. It gives everyone with the Domatan Storm Coven key rune mark flying for the turn, because that's going to help Leona get around that Vampire Lord. For his actual turn, he just took 2 swings with the bonking staff he has there. against the Korsagian Night Guard, and it's a bit hard to see all the damage notes there, but he was actually rather consistent, and 3 attacks each, strength 4 versus toughness 4 twice. He did 4 damage with each set of attacks, for a total of 8, of 30 in total. One of the zombies at the top of the table activated next for the Soulblight Gravelords. They move a mighty 3 inches, which is even slower than most things. And it was this one here, he was just getting into position to hold the critical objective for this turn. So Leona activated, making use of the fly she now has for the turn to because that triple was used to give her a chance to just get round the Vampire Lord. She couldn't use it to try and push him into the pit. But she flew over here and is within 2 inches. I forgot to mention for Domitan, but they have range 2 on their staff attacks. And spear in her case, to attack the wounded Bloodborne. Toughness 3 versus her strength 4 across 3 attacks twice. 4 damage on the first set of attacks and just 1 hit through for 2 on the second, but that does mean in total that's 16, and they have 15 wounds. So the second of the Bloodborne have now fallen. The sole surviving Bloodborne moved up in order to attack Sarpon, managed to get 1 crit through on him for 5 damage, putting him at 10 wounds in total of his 28, was it? 26 or 28. And it's now over to the Gryph-hound, the newly entered the battlefield Gryph-hound, as their final activation for the Stormcast for round 3. There was no real way for the Gryph-hound to avoid getting smacked by the Night Guard because they have 2 inches on their basic attack. He has 1 inch and he moves 6 inches, so he had to do 2 just to get within range to even try and hit the Night Guard next turn, because the first move would have put him safely to be contesting the objective, but not within range to attack, but within range that the Night Guard could have attacked him. So he just wasted both actions doing that, and now that Night Guard is going to get to act, as is the other zombie. The other zombie is just going to... Actually, the other Night Guard has to activate too. The other zombie is just going to move to help secure the critical objective. He's going to take some swings though, for sure. Well, despite only needing 3 pluses, the Night Guard's first attempt to hit the Gryph-hound was a complete whiff. The second got just a single normal hit through for 2 damage. I think the Gryph-hound has like 13 or 16 wounds, one of the two. Much less than a Stormcast. Hard to see, but making use of his range 2 on his bird, this Night Guard struck into Domitan twice, getting a crit on his first attempt, 2 dice, strength 5 versus toughness 5, doing 5 wounds with that. Oh, not quite, there we go. Doing 5 wounds with that. Second one did the exact same, meaning he has taken 10 of his 30. And as mentioned, the final activation is just the zombie at the very top of the table. He is just moving 3 twice to block off the objective right there, taking us to the end of round 3. So at the end of the 3rd round, there's nothing else to cover except that the Stormcast are obviously in a spot of bother. They do have a lot of wounds, but they're still not scoring anything. The objective over on the right with the Gryph-hound and the Night Guard is contested, so nobody is scoring that one. This objective, however, is scoring, as is the other one, so that's 2 more points to them. So as we go into round 4 or 5, assuming it goes the full distance, it is 6-0 to the Soulblight Gravelords. So here's the dice for round 4. The Stormcast got a triple 3, and using their wild dice they have made a double 5, giving them just 2 for initiative. Soulblight Gravelords had a double 5, they've made a double 6 and have 3, so they are once again taking first activation. The Vampire Lord got the penultimate round started, moving away from any 1 inches of edges just to avoid getting plunged to his doom, and then took a swing at Sarpon, getting a crit for 6 more damage, putting him at 16 in total of his 20 whatever it was. So he is getting there. Forgot to mention also at the top of the turn, the critical objective is once again the one with the 2 zombies at it right there. Well, with him being kind of wedged in there and a disengage action not really being the play, Sarpon activated and just took swings with his staff, his bonking staff, into the last surviving Bloodborne, doing 6 damage with his first set of attacks, 3 strength 4 against toughness 3, and for the second lot doing 4, meaning that he's done 10 in total of their 15 health. Those Bloodborne have been getting exceptionally lucky with their dice rolls. The sole surviving one activated and just attacked Sarpon twice, needing 5s and 6s and getting crits across both attacks. He did 6 wounds with his first attack, 6 more, so at least he's consistent I guess, with his second, but that does mean that in total he is at 28, because he has 12 there and 16 there, so Sarpon is out of there, but the double is being spent on Thunderous Departure, or whatever it's called, for d6 wounds. Actually, it's a reaction, so he can't, because he's not got a reaction left, so I think he can't do that, so never mind. No, he doesn't have an action left to do a reaction, so no vengeance. What would it have been out of curiosity? Because if he rolled a 5, it would die. Well, you know. Leona did a disengage action to get away from the Vampire Lord, 3-inch move, then shot some lightning bolts at the Bloodborne, just trying to get a kill. Needed to get a crit along with at least one other hit. She only got 2 normal hits for 4 more wounds, taking it to 14 of 15, so she couldn't even secure the kill either. It's not looking good. If they don't do something in the Gryph-hound and Domitan's activation, there isn't really a point in doing a 5th round, because they will not catch up, but we'll at least play the rest of this round out. The Kursagi Night Guard down here blocking the door for Domitan activated, attacked with his Birdish twice, 2 attacks, 2 times, needing 4 pluses, and consistently just got 1 hit through on each for 2 damage across both, bringing Domitan in total to 14, so he's almost at half health. It is weird how consistent the attacks in this game feel. The Gryph-hound activated, used its beak and claws to attack its 1/4 damage or 2/4 damage. Either way, across both sets of attacks, managed to do 7 damage. So that's not bad. He did 14 wounds to the Night Guard, which is just under half his health as well, which is just what Domitan got to. So it is weird how it just kind of balances out like that. And speaking of consistency, that Night Guard activated, swinging twice at the Gryph-hound, did 5 damage from 1 crit on each attack, didn't do anything else, but that does take it to 12 in total, which is how many wounds it has. It's actually surprisingly tough in terms of like its actual toughness stat and its strength for attacks, but it does only have 12 wounds, and that is it out of there. One of the zombies activated for the Soulblight Gravelords and immediately unactivated. They're just blocking the critical objective. So it just came down to Domitan using that bonk staff again to smack the Kursagi Night Guard in his way twice. Did really well with the first attack, did 10 wounds in total. Second attack, did 2 more with the 7 or 8, 5, 6, 7, 8 he had on him already. That takes him to 20. So it does leave him with 10 wounds remaining, which theoretically in turn 5 Domitan might be able to do, especially if Leona helps him, which might mean they could claw back a single victory point, but the writing is very much on the wall here, because at the end of the round the Soulblight Gravelords would be scoring 2 more, taking them to 8-0, so no matter what happens in a theoretical 5th round, obviously the Stormcast they're not winning, because they're all dead or dying. So we are just going to call it at the end there with the Vampires taking the win. And with that, we can conclude our second attempt at playing Warcry ever for the channel, with the Vampires taking the win and getting a suntan or whatever it is they're doing in this underground volcano forge thing. Quite fun. I like the rolls for the bridges. It's a shame we didn't roll them getting weakened earlier, especially considering how much they were actually crossed. But in terms of performance, obviously the Soulblight Gravelords were just mopping the floor with the Stormcast Eternals. They just weren't doing enough damage, and you have so few of them because there's so many points. There wasn't really many options for them. In this particular objective also, it wasn't playing to their strengths either, and that was with them having too many heroes. If you dropped one of Domitan's Stormcoven and the Gryph-hound, you could take 2 Praetors, which are like slightly weaker Stormcast. Not much weaker, but slightly, and that would have brought them closer to 1,000 on the dot with a legal list. I would have given them an extra body in total. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I would give them the exact same, but one wouldn't be a Gryph-hound. So they'd still probably be pretty slow, and I don't think that plays well in this map, although if some of the other setup types, if they'd won the roll-off, they could have selected to have, for instance, there's quite a few where one of your groups, dagger in most cases, some hammers, start smack dab in the middle of the map, which would give them a much better base to work from if you happen to roll an objective-focused mission, which I think a lot of them actually are in this. There is like a just kill each other thing. It looks like most of the Catacomb ones also go the 5 turns, whereas in the other rulebooks they mostly go 3 with some 4-rounders. But yeah, I haven't heard good things about the Thunderstrike Stormcasts in particular performing well, just because they don't have enough versatility. That certainly happened here. We'll definitely give them a better try next time when they have a proper official list. But for now, the Vampires are reigning supreme. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies if anything was done incorrectly. Keep in mind, obviously, second game literally ever for me. First time ever playing on the Catacombs map. It is a shame that the Games Workshop cardboard is so reflective. Try and find a normal mat to play on at some point as well, so to cut that down on, and hopefully it'll look a little bit better. But I hope you're still enjoying, and this series is early access to channel members. Channel members help keep this possible, to keep the lights on, keep the channel funded. and helps me pay my bills, which I'm very grateful for. And they get early access. Basically, as soon as these are uploaded, it'll be available to watch once HD is processed. Everyone else is just part of the normal schedule, so you will all see it eventually, whether you can spare some money or not. But I do appreciate those who can, and I hope this goes in some small part towards repaying that generosity. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you in the future for more. Until then, ta-ta for now.